It was 10:46 p.m. on a Wednesday when my phone lit up with a message from a number I didn't recognize. Bro, you deserve to know what she did last week. Just like that. No context. No name. But the profile picture gave it away. Jason. Her ex. The one she claimed was harmless, immature, barely a memory. I didn't reply. Not yet. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering, my wife's voice echoing from just 2 nights ago. Trust me, please. She'd said it while looking straight into my eyes. Calm. Steady. The kind of gaze meant to kill suspicion. Now, all I could hear was that line, played back with a bitterness that tasted like metal. I locked the phone and turned to look at her. She was asleep. Peaceful. One arm tucked under her head, the other on my side of the bed. Like she belonged here. Like everything was fine. I unlocked the phone again and finally replied. What did she do? 3 dots bubbled, disappeared. Then nothing. Typical Jason. The guy was a parasite. Always orbiting. Always accidentally bumping into her when he was in town. Always messaging her just enough to stay on her radar, but not enough for me to react. I used to trust her. But trust had a limit, and this felt like a line she wasn't supposed to cross. The phone buzzed again. She spent the weekend with me. Hotel. Downtown. She said you were at a conference. He attached a photo. It was blurry, probably taken in secret, but it was her. Hair up, that black trench coat I bought her for Christmas. His hand was on the small of her back. They were walking into a building I recognized, the Elridge Hotel. Only one entrance. Only one reason to go there. My jaw clenched, but I didn't wake her. I didn't storm out. I didn't scream. I just got up, walked to the kitchen, and poured a glass of water with hands that refused to stop shaking. She had lied. I wasn't at a conference. I was home all weekend. She said she was flying to San Diego to see her cousin. I checked her texts. Nothing. Her messages were clean. Too clean. Like someone who knew to delete their tracks. She always kept her phone face down. I'd noticed. Brushed it off. Now I knew better. I sat at the kitchen island until the glass was empty. Then I went to my office and opened the drawer she didn't know how to key. Inside was a folder I started 6 months ago, back when I first suspected something wasn't right. Late-night phone calls that ended the moment I walked in. Hotel shampoo bottles in her gym bag. Receipts for meals charged to our joint card, but never mentioned. I'd kept copies. Screenshots. Names. Patterns. At the time, it felt paranoid. But paranoia is just preparation with bad PR. This confirmed it. The messages. The photo. The lie. I closed the folder, turned off the lights, and went back to bed. She shifted when I lay down. She mumbled, still half asleep. You okay? Yeah, I said, voice steady. Just couldn't sleep. She smiled and pressed herself against me, her head on my chest. I stared at the ceiling and thought about Jason's message again. You deserve to know. He was right. But what he didn't know was this. I already did. I knew something was wrong the night she came back from San Diego. Her energy was different. Eyes darted more. Hugs were shorter. The guilt wasn't loud. It was surgical. Clean. Like someone who had practiced looking innocent. The next morning, I ordered a tracking device. I installed it in her car when she was at the salon. 2 days later, she told me she had yoga at 6 p.m. The tracker said otherwise. She drove to a bar downtown, stayed for 45 minutes, then detoured to a residential area. Parked for 3 hours. She came home at 10, said her instructor went over time. She smelled like mint and lies. Now, I wasn't just collecting breadcrumbs. I was laying out the map. And Jason? Jason gave me the key to the next room. I waited until morning. Made her breakfast like nothing was wrong. Asked her how her yoga class went last night. She said, exhausting, and thanked me for the eggs. Then I dropped the question casually. Hey, what's the name of your instructor again? She blinked. Nina. Nina. Right. I smiled. You should invite her over sometime. She nodded. Yeah, maybe. I knew she wouldn't. Because Nina didn't exist. At least not at that studio. I'd called. No Nina on staff. That afternoon, I called in sick from work. Not because I was falling apart. Because I needed time. I went to the Elridge. Asked to see the manager. Told him I was following up on a mistaken charge on my wife's card from the previous weekend. Slipped him a $100 bill. Asked if he could check the register. He didn't even blink. Room 1502, he said. Jason's name was on the reservation. Hers was listed as guest. They checked in Friday night. Left Sunday morning. No conference. No cousin. Just betrayal. documented by a stranger behind a desk who didn't care who got hurt. That night, she cooked dinner, laughed at something on her phone, showed me a meme like everything was fine. And maybe it was. For her. But for me, I was already drafting the ending. The next day, I scheduled a meeting with a divorce attorney. Quiet place, downtown, no paper trail under my name. Just a consultation, at least that's how I framed it. I don't want to blow up my life yet, I said. I just want options. She asked me 3 questions. Are you financially entangled? Do you have proof? Do you want to walk or win? Yes. Yes. And absolutely the latter. She laid out a strategy. Clean. Efficient. Weaponized silence. If you want to take her by surprise, she said, you don't confront her. You don't tip her off. You let her believe she's still winning. So that's what I did. Back home, I was affectionate, present, apologetic even. I asked about her day, bought her flowers, booked a massage for her Friday evening, told her she deserved it. She looked confused at first, then grateful. Guilt has a strange way of accepting kindness like it's permission. She started coming home earlier, checking on me more. I wasn't sure if it was fear or remorse, but I didn't care. Meanwhile, I ran the play. I hired a private investigator to follow her for 2 weeks. Not just for Jason. I wanted full coverage. Work, gym, friends. She was good at lying, I'll give her that. Jason was just the appetizer. There was another guy, from her gym. Name, Brent. Former trainer. Divorced. Mid-30s. They met twice. Nothing physical yet. But the text logs the PI pulled from a clone burner phone suggested she was testing boundaries. Jason was the fallback. Brent was the upgrade. She was hedging her betrayal. When I saw the texts, something in me snapped, but not in a loud, emotional way. It was quiet. Final. Like a door closing softly behind you when you've already made your choice. Trust me, please. That's what she had said. What she meant was, don't look too closely. Because trust, to her, was a weapon. A way to stall the truth. And now the truth was loading, one document at a time, into a folder I titled Exit File. But I wasn't planning to just leave. Not without tipping the scales. She forgot the business account was still in my name. Her boutique, a small online retail brand I helped fund, was registered under our LLC. My accountant verified it. The paperwork hadn't been updated since last year. That meant her revenue was still technically ours. And more importantly, I had authority. So I made a few moves. Quietly revised access credentials. Transferred domain ownership to a new holding company I formed 2 days prior. Legally, I now controlled the site, the inventory, the vendor payments. She didn't notice. Yet. The same day, I called her parents. I hadn't spoken to them in months. They liked me, respected me. So I told them I had something to share, but I wanted to do it in person. It's about Amelia, I said. They agreed. Coffee. Saturday. No mention to her. When I arrived, I handed them a manila folder. Inside were the photos, hotel receipts, GPS logs, copies of messages, and a copy of the lease termination for the boutique's warehouse, signed that morning. Her father said nothing for 30 seconds. Her mother cried quietly. Why are you telling us this? He asked. Because you've always treated me like family, I said. And because I want you to understand what's about to happen. He nodded. And what's that? I'm not going to destroy her, I said. But I'm not going to save her either. I left them with the folder. On the way back, I got a text from Amelia. I have a surprise for you tonight. Where's something nice? I stared at the screen. Smiled. She was planning a distraction. A way to throw me off the scent. What she didn't know was that the scent was already bottled, labeled, and filed under Exhibit A. That evening, she took me to a steakhouse we hadn't been to in years. The kind of place you go when you're trying to prove something. Over wine, she told me she'd been thinking about the future. About recommitting. Maybe we should travel again, she said. Get back to us. I watched her talk. Her gestures. Her fake sincerity. She was setting a trap, one last effort to reset the narrative. And I played along. Yeah, I said. I'd like that. She reached for my hand. I let her. Inside, I was counting down the hours. Tomorrow, the site would go down. The boutique would be under review. A client alert would go out, technical maintenance, pending restructuring, and her suppliers would be notified of delays. All automated, all traceable to her name, but none to mine. Because I had already resigned from the LLC that morning after transferring everything. She'd wake up owning a shell. No customers, no assets, no warning. And Jason? Jason would be a footnote. The real punishment wasn't losing me. It was realizing I was the only one who ever played clean. She screamed my name at 7:14 a.m. I was already dressed, coffee in hand, sitting at the kitchen counter with the morning paper open like it was any other Tuesday. She stormed in, phone in one hand, hair wild, barefoot. "What did you do to my business?" I didn't answer immediately. I turned the page, took a slow sip, then looked at her like I was confused. "Morning. You're up early." She threw the phone on the counter. The screen showed a server error. Then her Shopify login. Disabled. Then her email. Locked out. "I can't access anything. The website's down, the inventory, gone. Our vendors are blowing up my phone." "Our vendors?" I asked. Her eyes darted. She realized what she'd said. She'd forgotten the LLC paperwork still had my name on it until last week. And by then, the house was already on fire. "I don't know what's going on," she said, breathless, trying to pivot. "There must be some mistake with the site." "No mistake," I said. "I dissolved the LLC, transferred the assets, notified the vendors of restructuring. It's all legal. Kevin filed it yesterday." "Kevin? Our accountant Kevin?" "No, my accountant Kevin. You fired him last year, remember?" She opened her mouth, closed it. The panic set in fast, like someone realizing the elevator cable just snapped. "Why?" she asked. Voice smaller now. "Why would you do that?" "You asked me to trust you," I said. "While you lied, deleted texts, snuck off to hotels and Brent's garage apartment." Her eyes widened. She didn't even deny it. "Didn't have time. You said it wasn't what I thought," I went on. "But you never asked what I thought. You assumed I wasn't thinking at all." I slid the folder across the counter. The full package. Jason, Brent, the tracking data, the receipts. Her fingerprints were all over it. A complete map of her double life. "I didn't plan to humiliate you," I said. "But you made that your own specialty." She sat down slowly, like her knees were folding in. Her breathing uneven. "You're ending my business over this?" "I'm ending it," I said, "because you built it on my trust, my money, and someone else's bed." Then came the tears. Desperate. Not for me. Never for me. But for the fallout. "Please," she said. "Let me fix this. I'll cut them off. I'll rebuild everything. I just need a chance." "You had chances," I said. "Dozens. You chose leverage over love. Lies over partnership." "I can't lose everything," she whispered. "But you already did," I said. "You just didn't notice until now." Her phone buzzed again. Another supplier. Another alert. Another piece falling. I stood up, grabbed my keys. "There's a lawyer showing up in 20 minutes, I said. "You'll want to be civil. The papers are fair. Generous, even. I didn't take the house. I didn't touch your savings. All I did was reclaim what was mine." She didn't stop me. Just sat there, crumbling. A statue of her own making. At the door, I turned back once. "By the way," I said, "Jason, he wasn't trying to warn me. He was trying to hurt you. Petty revenge. But all he really did was open a door I was already unlocking." And with that, I left. 3 months later, the boutique was gone. She tried launching a new brand, burned fast. Too many bridges, not enough fuel. Jason disappeared. Brent ghosted her. Her parents stopped answering her calls. Me? I moved across the country. Took a job in private equity. Built something real. Quiet. Clean. When people ask if I'd ever trust again, I tell them this. Trust isn't a gift. It's a ledger. And when the balance goes negative, you don't beg. You don't scream. You just close the account.